Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Code. Today is episode 51, which is kind of huge in and of itself. And I'm joined by Eran Lahav. We've had quite a few crypto episodes back to back, but now we're going back deep into the world of emerging tech. And we're going to talk a little bit about AI, specifically where AI and the traditional world of lawyers collides. And I'm going to give you the answer to that. It's with a fantastic product called FirstRead that you're going to hear all about it today. Eran Lahav is the CEO and founder of FirstRead. Eran, welcome to the podcast. Why don't you give us your background? Welcome to Beyond the Code, the podcast where industry experts and brilliant legal minds discuss the impact of new emerging technologies. I'm your host, Yitzy Hammer, a lawyer and tech enthusiast. Join us as we explore the legal, regulatory, and ethical issues surrounding AI, blockchain, and more. Get ready to go beyond the code and stay ahead of the game.
So, as you mentioned, FirstRead is a legal tech company, but my journey doesn't start there. I started my journey in the business world as an accountant. I studied accounting and economy and graduated from the university and went straight ahead to my internship at KPMG. This is where I started to gain my, I would say, business knowledge, accounting knowledge, and also regulatory knowledge, where I dealt with both auditing financial institutions as well as providing advisory to the same type of firms. When I was doing that, legal papers, regulatory type of papers were always there. They were always apparent. I used to sit in basements or in a room within a big bank going over so many documents. And it was very apparent that it's very hard to deal with those documents in order to have the right answers to all the questions they asked me. So this is where I started. After that, I moved to investment banking, where I advised on different types of deals. Moving on, I became a senior manager at PwC, which is a quite famous company to work at. And then I became a CFO in real estate companies, public companies and private companies together. Did a lot of transaction there, both assets and M&As of companies. But it was always there. The legal documents were always there. The struggles, dealing with legal documents, signing on legal documents when you know this is perfect. This was a struggle. I struggled from early on all the way to becoming the CFO. And then at some point I just decided, okay, I got to do something about it. And this is how FirstRead was initiated.
Okay, but then you decided to build a legal tech product, but you had absolutely no background in law. How did that come about?
Great question. So first of all, I do have some law background because when you study accounting, you need to take quite a few courses in law, different types of law, but you do take them. And this gives you kind of an intro to what you're about to experience. Moving on to becoming a junior at KPMG, then investment banking and at PwC, and even as a CFO, everything is related to law. I read so many legal documents. I commented on legal documents. I prepared prospectuses with different types of law firms. So even though I don't have a legal profession certificate or anything like that, I used to practice law to some extent or different varieties of law during my journey. But then again, it's right. I'm not a super expert on different types of law, but where I practiced, I had this experience that made me, do this amazing progress in my career.
Very cool. I want to tell you a little bit of a story. I also will explain a little bit of the background as to how I came to discover FirstRead, and also kind of what my thoughts or hesitations were on the legal tech industry, some of which still exist, some of which kind of dissipated when I started using FirstRead. So my legal career started as an intern in Gornitsky, and then shortly afterwards, I worked as a junior associate in a law firm called Barnea, which I think you're familiar with. When I was in Barnea, I was working together with a friend of mine, Omer Brandeis, and Omer and I were both very passionate about legal tech because we were both working in high-tech commercial departments, and we were engaging all day with tech products of our clients. And we were also lawyers at the same time. And we were very intrigued by the notion that, okay, we could take this world of high tech that we're working and confronting at a deep level on a day-to-day basis and kind of integrate it into this old school traditional world that we're both working in. And so the two of us signed up to go to a legal tech hackathon, and actually came second place in the hackathon and came up with some really cool ideas of how we could optimize the world of law. But then when we took it to the next level and started kind of working out how we could build this product and sell it, we realized that the world of legal tech is flawed on several levels. First of all, law firms don't want to necessarily be efficient, right? It's a very old school profession and industry that's been built off of not being efficient. They make more. Typically, law firms build by the hour, and so it's not in their benefit to work fast and efficiently. They want to work longer hours and be able to build the clients more. So selling a law firm on something that's going to make them more efficient isn't necessarily an attractive proposition for them. So that was the first challenge that we came across with. The second one was that selling to clients products that were going to seemingly save them money on the legal side, not having to rely on lawyers that they're paying ginormous legal fees, and being able instead to rely on some AI, or, this was like pre-AI. So it was just, some kind of software that was going to do the work for them, is also a hard sell, because lawyers, and this is something I believe in, have very much like a personal element to their consultations with clients. Like, you first want to build trust, and over time, the more you go through, the clients go through, challenging times in their business, and again, they're able to rely on their lawyers to navigate them through the murky waters there. They come to build a certain level of trust, a trust which I think will be very hard to place in AI or in some kind of other technology. So those are the two challenges that we came up with, which is why, I was kind of like disenchanted with the world of legal tech and gave up on it in a sense, at least on the innovation side. And so I became a bit of a skeptic when it comes to, here's some crazy noise in the background. I don't know where it's coming from. It's like a truck pulling a.
I live near the Ben Gurion Airport.
Okay, well, there you go. Anyways, then so I kind of just like dismissed legal tech for a while, and then when like ChatGPT came out, I started getting very involved and very excited about AI generally, and working with a lot of AI softwares. But on the legal side, mainly because of the challenges with privacy and data protection, anytime I was speaking to an AI, I had to be very conscious of what kind of details I was sharing with it. If I wanted to, mark up a specific section in an agreement or draft a letter, I had to make sure that like it was completely de-anonymized and it didn't have any data that related to any clients at all because of the privacy elements. And so I was kind of using AI to optimize certain parts of my work, but not fully. Then I started started very actively pursuing hiring somebody to work at our firm, because I realized, we're growing and we need to bring more people on, and I can't, rely too heavily on ChatGPT. And through the hiring process, I was like really frustrated, because there are so many people who are, don't exactly meet the qualifications, or don't exactly, don't have the same drive necessarily that you're looking for. And it was a very arduous and difficult process trying to find the right associate to bring onto our firm. Today, I'm very happy to say, by the time this episode goes live next week, it will be public. It's not yet, but we've just hired, our first two associates, and it's very, very exciting. But during that process, when I was kind of looking and being very frustrated, I called up my friend Omer, and I was telling him how frustrated I was with the hiring process. And he said, I also had a similar frustration. I hired 3 people, and each time I hired somebody, I was again disappointed by their, lack of efficiency and professionalism. And I found something else that kind of saved me. And I said, what was it? He said, I'm started to use this product called FirstRead. And I said, FirstRead, what is it? And he told me about how it's this AI that's built specifically for lawyers, and how it's made him like 3 times more efficient. So I said, this is something I have to try. So you and I had actually spoken a number of years ago when you had first released the product, but for technical issues, I think I was still working with like this is my pre MacBook years. I was working with like an old Windows computer that was running like Office 2006, and you guys refused to support it because there's only one person in the world that was still using that version of Office. So I missed that opportunity, but I reached out to you, and this was like a month ago or something like that, and I started using the product, and I was blown away by how amazing it is. It definitely still has like some kinks to work out, but really, really saved me a ton of time. And now I can't imagine not working with it. So that's kind of how I got to the point where I said, you know what, legal tech maybe isn't as bad as I thought it was. I think there might be something certainly here to work with, at least as far as FirstRead is concerned. And because I was so excited by the opportunity to work with your software, I said this is something that I need to bring onto the podcast and to share with other lawyers and other innovators that maybe aren't yet familiar with this product. And so here we are, discussing FirstRead. I would love to get from you a little bit more of understanding as like, okay, once you decided that this is, I understand the backstory, I understand why how you recognize this is something that you need, struggling with all those PDFs of like boxes and boxes of legal documents in the basement of a bank. But then once you came to that realization of, okay, we need to build this, like what was it actually like tackling that challenge, building the product? And I'm sure, and we're going to get to that afterwards, there's quite a lot of challenges, going back to what I said about how law firms don't necessarily want to be more efficient, as to like selling these innovative products to old school, large law firms throughout the world. So that's to you, man.
No, so first of all, you're absolutely correct. And I gotta be honest, you kind of swept across so many points that kind of need to be discussed just in order to understand the landscape of legal tech and where it was before generative AI and where it is today. So just to tackle a few. So before generative AI, there was AI, but it wasn't as capable as what we're experiencing today. Like honestly, when I used to work in those firms, trying to understand how I make my work better, it was not doable. There was no software in the world that could actually do it, even though there was AI out there in the world. It wasn't as good as lawyers supposed to have it. So this is first thing that we need to understand. Now, when we started that journey and kind of starting to ideate how it would look like, there were so many ways to go. And I think that back then when we met, our product looked so much different than what it is today. I think that we even talked even before ChatGPT came out. So, and this is crazy because I would say the transformation that the entire industry had since the end of 2022 and the legal sector specifically has been enormous. It's nothing that we've never seen before, and it changes rapidly. Not only how people work, but what people think about how to use it. So this is something that is very important to understand because there were legal tech companies before generative AI. Many of them failed because the task that they wanted to execute was too hard technologically. It was not doable. But now with generative AI, we have that capabilities. So now when we started and talk about how we want to do it, there were so many points that we kind of needed to connect. So the first thing that we actually went after is the language that the attorneys are using. But that brought so many other complexities. For example, how to integrate with document management systems, how to understand which document is the relevant document to work on, which language is the most relevant language for each specific situation. So these are all things that we had a huge struggle with when we started. That takes me to another point that you mentioned, and that you might use it as a non-lawyer to just move the lawyer aside, which is something that we are completely against because we believe that the lawyer has the discretion to actually understand we are in this situation, therefore we need to implement and we need to deploy those types of safeguards or provisions to allow that the transaction or the document to move swiftly and move on for the business. So these are all things that needs to be incorporated into the discussion when we're talking about it. So when we're talking about challenges, the first challenge was, okay, there's a problem. How do we address it? And we actually we pivoted like 2 or 3 times just to understand, okay, what we're doing right now is something that does make a difference. So that was the first thing. But once we grasped it, once we realized this is what attorneys need, then we had a lot of other challenges, which I would say the most basic one is how to make it work. Because we have generative AI, but when we need to incorporate it into a document, we need to explain it, when we need to supplement the process that we're doing right now with also external data that the system needs to understand in order to answer the right answers to process the document that we're working on right now. These are all things that that were challenges for us, but we made it, and we're still working on it. And I think that what would happen over time as systems develop and as models develop is that our ability to understand nuances and specifics for not only a situation, but also for a person, that will grow more and more up to a point where we will be somewhat a person, which is, this is what we're working. This is what we're targeting to do. So these are the challenges. And these are things that differ between each and every person. You can work in one way, and we also need the system to understand the other person works in a different way. These are all challenges that we're experiencing as we work.
Fantastic. I think the biggest challenge, this is one that I mentioned before, and this is one when I speak to lawyers, this is the thing that they push back most on. And I'd love to get a bit more confidence from you and just kind of a breakdown so I can instill confidence in, potential users and customers, is how do you tackle the data protection and privacy aspect?
A month ago, I was in a closing session in the university. There is this program in Bar-Ilan University. It's called Law and Innovation, I think. And at the end of the semester, they bring in one entrepreneur from the legal tech industry and another attorney. And in my case, there was actually a very reputable person. His name is Asaf from Qatar. Everybody knows him in our ecosystem. And he said something which was amazing for me, because the students, they kept on asking these type of questions. And at some point he stopped and said, listen, the horses are out. Now we need to figure out what we're doing with it. So data privacy is super important. Therefore, right when we started, the first thing that was super important for us is to have SOC 2 certificate, because we understand how important this is, and we understand how important it is to not having customers' data. All right, and we also understand how important it is not to train our models on your information because of the leakage that could result. So we are addressing all of that while still providing you with the capability to out-execute yourself and the other persons that are not using generative AI. And this is a struggle, but we're doing it in super secure way that does not involve storing customers' information or even data that you used before, in order for everything to be super secured. But I need to pause here and say something that would kind of like future looking point of view. In the future, and maybe actually in the very near future, this will be stored as well. And we need to understand that. When we're using ChatGPT, it already knows who we are. It knows us. We need to understand that the future of law will be AI working closely with the user, which means your computer will know you. It will know how you write. It will know how you react. It will know the different types of communications you're having. And this all will be needed to address. And we're working on it. But we have to understand that as we move forward.
Absolutely. Okay, so as far as data protection and privacy are concerned, you guys are SOC 2 certified, and you don't do any data model training on user data.
That's correct. And we're also don't store information in these.
That's something that I find very frustrating. Like when I want to come back in and revisit one of my previous chats, or even within like an existing document, if I close out FirstRead and I go back, there's no history there. It drives me absolutely bananas.
There is. So you missed it. We actually do store information, but it's being stored locally in your computer. There's an archive button up there where you can click and see your history. But this is just the beginning.
It's managed locally. Got it. Okay, very cool. So That's a feature I didn't know about. I'm going to have to check it out when we get off the call. Okay, so that was very helpful. Now, what is your biggest challenge in onboarding and just kind of like creating the, a narrative that works when you're talking to potential clients? Like, what's the hardest thing to sell about the product? Like, ostensibly, it works great. It makes your time more efficient. Why isn't everybody buying it?
So first of all, I think that there is still pushback. Attorneys are different. They're being taught differently. And obviously, there are still decision makers in different firms which have different type of thoughts about what's going on. So that make things hard. It doesn't create a sale for every person that we encounter. And we have to understand that when we are talking to a firm or when we are talking to a specific person in a firm, in most of the cases, he or she is not the person to make the decision. It will be either someone else, or at least it will be a group decision, right? So we cannot convince only one person. It has to be like a group type of kind of discussion in order to make things progress. So this is first and foremost. Obviously, everyone has their opinions about that, and this is something that we need to address. Second,
yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, like, what did you learn about like the procurement process in large law firms? Like, is it very inefficient?
I wouldn't say so. I've seen firms that embrace it, going bullish over it, and then the process is much more streamlined than it is in other firms. But then we've seen the other way around again. I think at the end of the day, it all depends on whether the management makes a decision. Okay, we understand what's coming, and we want to be a part of it. If they make the decision, then the process is very fast. I signed a contract with like a mid-sized big law firm. The process was 1 day. I got a call. We need the software. I want it for the X amount of people. Send us the agreement, and they signed right away. But they already made a decision. We have to be there. This is a long process that happens within the firm before they even approach or we approach them. Even if they see us, it's still a process they need to do internally.
Tell me, what does the onboarding process look like? We haven't like got to this discussion with us yet because we just kind of hit the ground running. But law firms that have tens or hundreds of thousands of documents in their archives, and that they want FirstRead to be able to train off of their existing templates. Is that something that they could do? And if so, like, what does that look like?
So the answer is no, not yet. Okay. We're not integrating with document management systems yet because of many reasons. It doesn't mean that a specific attorney cannot lean on past work when he or she works. We provided that functionality. One of the things that we realized over time is that at the end of the day, attorneys, since they don't have a lot of time, I'm gonna pause here.
It's crazy. Is it always like that?
Always.
Wow. Can we see the plane in the background?
Yes. You can, but if I turn it like this, then you might see it.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah. No, it's great. I love it.
Wait, so what do you mean like individual attorneys could train their own models? Like,
yeah,
could say like, this is my template NDA, this is my template service agreement?
Yeah, so they can do it. They can implement themselves some documents in order for the system to have somewhere to go to once the person wants the system to go to that information. They can upload the document, and the system will be able to analyze it and then provide with the information as you work on another document, or if you want to lean on this document when you're doing something else. So you have that capability. But when we're talking about integrating huge amounts of data, this is something that we need. There is a lot of work to be done before you even reach that point, because we need to discuss which documents are relevant, how far back I want to go, what is relevant, what's not relevant, who are the team members in every team that we actually want to learn from. This is all information that we need to understand, that even Gen AI needs to understand before they come back
Right.
and
You're saying
create an
like
out.
if you throw all the documentation that they have in some large law firm into the data model, that it could be that you're going to have like interns who made mistakes and stuff like that, and then you're not going to necessarily have perfect templates to orchestrate a model off of.
Exactly. At the end of the day, generative AI brings out what you fit in. What you fit in.
I always
If you
say
fit in
the
something that's
output
not relevant.
the output is only as good as the input. So okay, so basically you're saying that what it's training on now is only like vetted documents that you guys have looked at to make sure that they're updated and relevant and professional.
So it's a combination of models, including what you just suggested. It's a combination that works behind the scenes to make the answers more accurate, more precise, more fine-tuned to the situation that you're working on. We just had this amazing example from last week where one of our customers worked on a specific type of document, but the terms from the document you wanted to learn from were not the same as the document you're working on right now. Our system was able to take the information from there, but modify the terms to fit the document that we're working on right now. So you can do those things once things are being incorporated well. And so you have that capability of learning from different types of models and different types of capabilities that we implement into the system.
Very, very cool. So let's talk a little bit about the future. Like, what do you guys plan for the future of FirstRead? Like, what features are you guys working on? Where do you think this product's going to be in 5 years? Or 5 years is like a million years in the AI world. What do you think it's going to be in 6 months?
So I'm not sure. Can we pause for a second? And
you could say whatever you want, and then I could cut it out afterwards if it's like super
Okay.
secret and
Okay.
confidential.
No, so I don't want to talk about specific what we're working on, because one of the
Okay.
things that is going on, I mean, we didn't really discuss it, but the legal text landscape is on fire, and we need to understand it. We need to understand it. AI kind of downgraded modes. It's not only happening in legal tech; it happens, I mean, almost everywhere. Think about what we're experiencing right now. When you can write stuff and the system generates an application, right? I mean, application developers, like, what's going on? So the mode, your capabilities of generating things that others can, it's not the same anymore. So it's all about accuracy, and even building the right thing would create an advantage. And this is why when we're looking at the legal text landscape, we're seeing that what happens is what this is a great one.
Yeah. Go ahead. It's all good.
So this is why this is what we're seeing, that what happens since the implementation of generative AI, we've seen the legal tech landscape exploding. It's not as it used to be. In before generative AI, legal tech was not such a hot topic at all, because of all the boundaries, because of how law firms addressed innovation. But now it's different, and we're seeing a lot of companies pursuing that path because they understand how much money can be invested in those type of tools, and
So what you're saying is now it's not a question of like if, it's a question of like how good.
yes,
Because like anybody can make a generative AI anything, but now because it's so easy to make a generative AI anything, you need to make a generative AI that actually produces like not good enough content, like absolutely phenomenal content. Is that what you're saying?
So the answer is correct. And then we need what we need to understand is not only about whether the output is phenomenal, but rather whether it addresses specifically the struggles that our customers are dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when I'm saying that FirstRead wants to become an AI associate, I really mean it. We want to take the process from A to Z. And that needs to, when we are saying that, we understand that we need to tackle so many issues along the way. For example, not only where where tasks are being executed, which is in most cases the Microsoft Word, but also where tasks are being generated. Is it only via email, or is it also in some small talk conversations that attorneys have? These are things that we need to address. So when we're taking all of that into consideration, including the persona that is behind the computer, including how he or she writes, their styling, their writing style, what's important for them as attorneys, we need to take all of that and deploy our system in a way that will capture all of these elements in order to become a real AI associate. And this is what we're pursuing. This is what we're after. And the most interesting part about that is that our heavy users, they are already discussing with us these steps. They already ask me, hey, why aren't you alive here? Why aren't you alive there? I would love FirstRead to be here and there to do this and that so much. That's what we're about to do.
So how are you doing that? Like, what steps are you guys taking to get to that next level? Are you hiring more? Let's talk a little bit just about the company. Like, you guys are bootstrapped? Are you fundraised?
So I mean, we're not bootstrapped. We raise funds, not a lot, but we're good with what we have. I would say our main investors are Fusion and then also UC Berkeley, which is one of the top universities in the world. They also understand where this goes, so they invested in us, which is amazing. Yes.
Are you guys hiring? You have a big team?
So we do have a team. I mean, one of the things that generative AI created is a situation when you don't have to be so heavily relied on so many hands. So we can do things even if we're not as big as once it was thought that we should be. So we don't have like a huge team, but we do have a team of employees. Most of them are technical and like product type of employees. And we nail it. We have customers from all over the world, all the way from Hong Kong to West Coast United States. We're growing on an ongoing basis. We onboard customers on an ongoing basis. Over the past few months, not only we are approaching people to to start the discussion, but people are reaching out to us. We have some inbound going on, which is amazing as well. And we're growing. And the more the product evolves, the more our system understands the person that is behind the computer, we see the engagement and we see how it grows. We see the engagement, and then one thing leads to another. And Omer talks to Yitzy, and this follows. This is the best reaction that we can get, and we do get it.
I love that. Very, very, very cool. Okay, so for people who are listening, and many of them are lawyers, and many of them will not have been familiar, what's the best way to get in touch with you guys, to find out more about FirstRead, to just generally keep up to date with the kind of stuff that you guys are working on?
So it's a great question. So first of all, we're very approachable. If you go into our website, you can schedule a call, which is very, very easy, and you can also see what we're working on.
They're freakily available. You look at Eran's Calendly, and it's open, I think, like 22 out of the 24 hours of a day. I do not know how he does it. I think he told me the other day he was at like his brother or sister-in-law's wedding, and he took a call in the middle. So he literally is available 24/7 or 22/7 or 22/6.
We really believe in it. We believe there's a huge transformation going on, and we believe we can be a pivotal player in this transformation. We believe that what we are seeing is something that can really create a new landscape in how attorneys work, and we believe that this will benefit the attorneys themselves because they are able to now be more open. Their mind can be more open to do what they need to do, which is thinking strategically. This is what they need to do. You have all the information. You just need to have it in a way that you can communicate it to the client or the customer or to the team and make the right decision. So that's how we do it. And then again, our LinkedIn page is evolving, and we're sharing our progress all the time. So you can also follow us there, and we're available. Anywhere you choose, we're there, and we'd love to communicate with anyone who thinks this is relevant, anyone who's willing to have this conversation, not only about a product, but also about the movement. We believe this is a movement, and this movement can create a lot of advantages moving forward for many different types of people within that space. So it's important for people to address that.
I tend to agree. I think you're absolutely at a pivotal point, and we want to help you get the word out, which is why we're going to share all those relevant links together with the podcast. And I'm going out on a limb here, but I feel like Eran is going to back me up. We're also offering a special discount to any Beyond the Code listeners who want to go to Eran's website and download the FirstRead app. So all you have to do is go, Eran, can I say this? Otherwise we can edit it out afterwards.
But that's okay. I'm with you. I will
put
wait
in
with you.
coupon code Beyond the Code. We'll include it with the episode, and looking forward to getting feedback from all of you, because I really, really feel like I can't imagine a world anymore of drafting without FirstRead, and I feel like you're all going to feel the same as well.
We're just getting started.
We are just getting started. Thank you, Eran, for joining me. This was fantastic. I hope we'll be able to schedule another episode in like 6 or 12 months and discuss how far you guys have come in that period of time. For everybody who's listening, this was Eran Lahav, CEO of FirstRead, and you could find the special promo code for getting a discount to FirstRead in the show notes. Don't forget that we also have a recently launched Telegram channel that you could join that will also share the link in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to Beyond the Code, the podcast where industry experts and brilliant legal minds discuss the impact of new emerging technologies. I'm your host, Yitzy Hammer, a lawyer and tech enthusiast. Join us as we explore the legal, regulatory, and ethical issues surrounding AI, blockchain, and more. Get ready to go beyond the code and stay ahead of the game.